Do you mind coming here to introduce your organization?
Thank you so much, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sara, and I am organizing the with Asian Americans Coming Together. We are a nonpartisan voter education group founded in 2020 here in Orlando, and since then, we've had the blessing to steadily grow. I'm with my partner, fellow Aisha, and we're here to encourage you all to scan this QR code when you see us so you can stay updated on important policy updates regarding the API community as they emerge, as well as get updated with all of our amazing events. Our goal is to encourage and grow the decisions in our community, so get to know us and join us. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 sign-ups by the general election in November. Thank you so much, and we hope to meet with you all soon.
So our seminar is going to start. This is a very serious seminar. We have a lot of topics going through. So we want to encourage everyone mute their phone, keep quiet. We're going to have a session just designated for Q&A after this seminar. We also gratefully invited Anna and Jean. So I will pass the time to Aiko, our president, to introduce them in greater detail. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for coming today for this really important discussion. This seminar is about anti-Asian hate laws in the past, present, and what's coming next, what may be coming next. So, from the Chinese Exclusion Act 150 years ago, that was repealed in 1960, almost 80 years after its. All right, from Chinese Exclusion Act 150 years ago to China Initiative, also all the discriminating laws happening in Florida and other 13 states. Why this is keep happening? Most of us here are first generation Chinese immigrants from China. Immigrants from China. We probably know more about the Chinese history than U.S. history. I don't know.
You can just project.
All right.
Yeah.
So most of us here are first generation immigrant from China. We're probably more familiar, like myself, we're more familiar with Chinese history and Chinese laws than American history. Today, it's critical moment because we want to know why this type of law keep happening. Why is it Asian Americans in U.S. are keep getting targeted? So with this pressing questions, I want to introduce you to our speakers today, important speakers. Representative Anna Eskamani, our friend, and our ally from day one. Basically, she stood up for us when the law, we just realized the law is so, what kind of damage it's going to do to us, and we have nowhere to turn. She stood up, she fought, shoulder to shoulder with us. And she's not only fighting for us, she's also fighting for all the marginalized groups, immigrant communities. And she is a strong voice in Florida legislature to fighting back all this discriminatory laws. Now let's welcome Anna Eskamani, Representative Anna.
Thank you so much, Echo. Could we please give a thank you to Echo and her incredible leadership? I was talking to some folks earlier before we got started about how we need to start planning ahead of different Asian American community members to run for public office one day. And I know Echo is on that list to run for office and to be in the state legislature, and I can't wait to see that day happen. And so again, my name is Anna V. Eskamani. I'm so proud to share space with you today and
I'm really excited for this presentation by one of my colleagues in Texas who's with us today, Representative Jean Wu, and I will not take up too much time because I know that's why we're all here, is to listen to this presentation. But I first just want to provide the context to what I care so much about the Asian American Pacific Islander community and why these issues are essential for us to not only understand, but to share with others. I am a daughter of immigrants. I'm first generation. My parents actually immigrated from Iran and found each other working at the same donut shop in Orlando. And so I grew up in this community, not just my high school is 5 minutes away from here, University High School. And our families struggled a lot to make ends meet. Like so many immigrant families, we just wanted to work hard, go to a good school, go to college, get a job. I think for so many immigrants, especially of Asian descent, that is our focus, right? And we don't cause attention to ourselves. We don't get too political usually, because like Echo said, we're more familiar with the politics of our homeland than we are with the politics of where we live today. And so me falling into politics was not what my parents expected. Like so many immigrant families, my dad told me to study physics, biology, and chemistry and not go towards politics. But when I was at UCF on this college campus, I fell in love with advocacy, especially advocating for women's issues, but also falling into opportunities where I could advocate for other marginalized communities like my own. And as an Iranian American, my first experiences with racism was really after the tragedy of 9/11, where I started experiencing just individuals who treated me differently because of my family's origin. And of course, we continue to see today different marginalized communities face discrimination just based on who they are and what their origin is. And so when Senate Bill 264 came before me, I received an email from ECHO and a few other attorneys here in Florida ringing the alarm bell. And it was just a cold email. By that I mean I had no relationship with ECHO. She just emailed me out of the blue. I remember I was on my way back to Tallahassee, and we just jumped on it immediately. And what is so interesting about these bills, as you'll hear from Representative Wu, is that it is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. There is so much misinformation about the Chinese community, about the Asian American community, and fear-mongering that takes place, where individuals you would typically think would know better than to support these bills end up supporting these bills. And so it's really important to combat the misinformation, to tell our stories, and to focus on the facts. Because at the end of the day, everyone cares about national security. For immigrants who come to this country, we are coming in search of freedom. We're coming in search of the American dream. To accuse individuals because of their origins associated with governments that many of us, came to the United States to oppose is wrong, unethical, but of course it's a political tool to create tension, to create conflict, and to create enemies. Unfortunately for some politicians, and when they can't offer solutions, all they can do is point fingers and point blame. So we have to combat that. But it's not just a one-party issue. It really is an issue that transcends political lines. And I'll close with this quick story from earlier in this week. One of our local attorneys, who is Asian American himself, he represents a lot of the Asian American businesses in Orlando. As an attorney, he does, commercial real estate, other types of issues. So some of my personal favorite restaurants that are located in the Mills 50 area, also known as Little Saigon, he represents in their different legal needs. So we actually hosted a Asian American business town hall with all these small businesses at MAMAC over on Colonial and 50. And it was such a fantastic event. We had 40, 45 people in attendance. And we talked about these laws. We talked about these bills. And many of the business owners there just didn't even know. They had no idea. So my last piece of advice is everything you learn today, everything we discussed today, don't let it stop here. These are conversations we want to put on our WhatsApp threads with our family and friends. We want to put on Telegram. We want to put on Facebook. We have to really televise it, right? Because these are stories and information that most folks are not going to hear, especially because our everyday news focuses more on national issues than local. But it's these local laws that impact our everyday lives. And so with that said, I really appreciate y'all being here, and I do apologize. I'm going to sneak out soon to head to the next thing called Split for another community event today as well. But I'm just so grateful for your leadership, and I thank Representative Wu for being here. We're so grateful that you made the trip over from Texas, and I look forward to hearing and learning more from you as well. Thank you, everyone.
before you, can you tell us what happened in this past several months in Florida, right here in Central Florida, for this Chinese candidate, right? For running, running for a seat, and what happened to him?
Yes, of course. So ECHO is referencing what was a Republican primary election, correct?
Yes.
With over in Lake and Orange County. So this is a state Senate seat that was an open seat, meaning that the Republican who represented that district had termed out. Because in Florida, unlike Texas, we actually have term limits in Florida. So, for example, I can only run up to 4 terms. So this is my last term that I'm running for, and each term is 2 years. So that's why you'll have these open seats where anyone can run for it. So it was a very competitive Republican primary between a state house representative, so he was already in office, but now he's running for the state senate, and he's kind of a lifelong Floridian, long roots in Florida, and a Chinese American that was running. And they both were very well-funded campaigns. So you saw a lot of their television ads, and so it was a very competitive race that only Republicans could vote in, so it wasn't a race that others could vote in. And unfortunately, it became very racist very quickly. The Republican who was the incumbent and who was supported by most of the party infrastructure accused the Chinese American candidate of having ties to the Communist Party because he had received donations from individuals that have Chinese and Asian surnames. They demonized those people and attacked them. And it was just one of those examples, right, of why it's so important for us to speak out and for communities to also hold their elected officials accountable, because unfortunately it worked. The individual that used the racist attacks, he won his campaign, and now he's going to be serving parts of Lake County and Orange County, which is a diverse community. He's going to be representing individuals who have immigrant backgrounds, campaigning on demonizing and villainizing those backgrounds. And it was really heartbreaking to see, because this was a candidate who was very passionate in his values. Like, he aligned with the Republican Party, and that's not my party. I respect his passion for it. But because of his Asian American identity, and because he had the support of other Asian Americans, they used that against him. Yep. And that's just something that, regardless of your political background, should really disgust you, because it's just so wrong for anyone in public office to use someone's identity like that, and to, of course, paint a picture about an entire community just because it's to your political advantage to do so. And so it's one of those local examples that we should not ignore, and I think it further amplifies why talking about these laws and why talking about the impact of Project 2025 on the Asian American community is so important, because we can't take things for granted. And if those racist attacks worked in our community, they're going to do it again and again and again, unless we can stop them from doing it. And it makes it a lot harder for Asian Americans to run for office in Florida when we're up against these types of attacks. So, thank you for the question.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Round of applause for our dear friend, Representative Anna Escamani. Thank you. Now let's introduce Representative Jin Wu from Texas. He's a true hero in our Chinese community. He has been fighting against this type of laws, discriminatory laws in Texas, and he also has been guiding us in Florida. He has flown multiple times to Florida to help us, in the rally, in the law, fighting the law, and he has promised to come whenever it is needed in our community. And just yesterday morning, he flew to Miami to give a presentation to our Chinese community, and this morning he just got here from Miami to Orlando. So let's welcome Representative Jin Wu.
ECHO, and let's give ECHO a bigger round of applause, because if this is right, she's been a leader all this time. Anytime that I'm here on the stage, she's always here. So we need to recognize our leaders. We also need to recognize our elected officials, who may not be exactly a part of our immediate community, but is our family. Right? She's our family. Because when we say the house is on fire, she comes to the rescue. That means she lives under our roof too.
Yes.
Right? So our home is her home. So we need to remember that. So when you go home, you tell them who stood up with our community. That's one. Right? You remember that. Say her name. So, my name is Jin Woo. I'm here from Houston, Texas. Some of you have seen me talk before, but this time it's different. And I'm having to do this presentation. I'm having to create this presentation to come to communities to do this because of something that's very disturbing to me, which is Chinese people are not listening. Because I've told people in Texas, we told people that SB 147, the anti-alien land law, is coming back. They don't believe me. They say, we beat them, they went home, and they're not coming back. And I say, are you kidding? They suffered a small defeat, a momentary defeat. You think they're not going to come back for you? Right? You've embarrassed them. They're coming. And what's more is not only are they coming, they're coming with a much bigger army. They're coming with more resources. And I tell people, this is not a Texas fight. This is a national fight now. And people say, why? We don't see it anywhere else. And I tried to, like last week I went to Tennessee, yesterday I was in Miami, today I'm in Orlando, next week I'm in DC, the week after I keep going and going everywhere I go. The people there do not even know what has happened in their own house. And that's bad, right? Because if you don't know the danger, how can you prepare? So, we're going to talk about today not just what has happened right now and what I think will happen in the future, but I want to show you what has happened in the past. Because too many of our own communities do not know our own history. And if you know our own history, you will be more concerned. Because what we will show you is history is starting to repeat itself. Or not. No, I just think we were having it. No. It's all good. You know, we have technology issues, but like, the way I think about it is, hey, at least we have the technologies to have issues. You know, if this was 20 years ago, you know, we wouldn't have a projector, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have a laptop. So it's sometimes it's good to have some problems. It's nice. And being able to do this over Zoom has been just amazing. We can talk to the whole nation, right, from the comfort of our own home. Okay. Good? All right. Take it. Okay. So, first of all, in the last 2 centuries, the United States and the states within the United States has already passed multiple times laws banning our community from the community. Saying that we don't want you here, we don't want your kind of people here, we will pass laws saying you cannot have land. Okay? Most of these laws were determined to be unconstitutional and determined to be against the laws of the United States. Why do I tell you this? Because people are putting the same laws back into the books right now. That's how little respect they have for you, that not only are they passing laws against you, they're passing laws that they passed in the past that are already been determined to be unconstitutional. That's how confident they are that you will not fight back, that you will not object. Okay? All of these laws relate the same way. They treat an entire community, an entire ethnicity, an entire group of people for something that they believe happened but they can blame the entire group. And that's a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Okay? Okay, right. Right, I'm going to stop right here. Okay, yeah. So, we don't have time to go over every bit of this, but this is a brief history of just the federal laws, okay? And I made them colored, so I know maybe you can't read, but just don't worry about reading it for now, okay? This is just federal laws. This is not including state laws. This is just every time the laws of this land have been against us. Everything in red is negative, everything in green is positive. So, from the very beginning, under British colonial law, immigrants were not allowed to own property, period. No immigrants. After the United States became the United States says we don't want to have the same laws as the British. So the United States government says we will remove all limitations on immigrants owning land, and we will let the states make that decision on their own. Okay? And then nothing happened for almost 100 years. No problems. Can you continue on? Do you know what changed? Chinese and Japanese people came to the country. Starting around the 1850s, actually, right? People started becoming concerned about all these new people that are coming to America that don't look white, don't look black, something different. And they started enacting laws little bit by little bit. First, they passed like the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act in the 1870s said, we're not saying no Chinese people. We're just saying no Chinese women. Only women. Think about why only women are banned. Because you're rats. You're vermin. You are a disease. We don't want the disease to spread. We're happy to have the disease come build a railroad, mine the gold, make our food, wash our clothes, but we don't want you to spread. Okay? This eventually became the Chinese Exclusion Act. They started small, just women, no problem. Next time they say, well, maybe add the men too. But that's everybody. Men and women are now prohibited from coming into America. This is the first time in American history, that the government used immigration law as a weapon against one group of people. It's not all Asians, just Chinese.
Make a comment? In today's time, we understand the loose connection to CCP and the Chinese versus American rhetoric that we have, but 150 years ago.
Hold on. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Can you zoom out? Sorry. Okay. Now let's go to the next picture. Sorry. Okay. This is more time. Everything in red is either a law or a court case that said our community has no rights, has no power. Okay? Look at the times when these laws were passed. 1922, 22, 24, 37. 1943. The Chinese Exclusion Act is repealed on paper. Why? Because the United States needed to form a treaty with China to fight the Japanese. And then China said, you have this racist law on your books. We will not fight with you if you see us as rats. So what did the United States government do? They repealed it in the Congress, but they left the effects of law on the books. They hated Chinese people so much that they spent the time to repeal the law, but used personal effort to keep the policies in place until 1965. People hated our communities so much, they were happy to spend the personal effort it took to maintain this policy despite the policy being erased from the book. Right? You look around this room. Ask yourself, has anyone in this room, I know other than one person, did you come here before 1975? Anybody? Anybody's family came here before 1975? Right? There's one. His family came during the gold rush. Why was there nobody between 1850 and 1975? Right here. 20 years after the Chinese Exclusion Act was repealed, they kept the law in place saying no Chinese. This is not that long ago. This is not ancient history. You have people right here in this room who were born before 1965. Okay? The people who helped make sure that this stayed in the law are still alive today. These people are still alive. Why did they keep this law on the books for so long? Ask yourself that. What is your rationale? What is the justification for this type of law? Let me zoom back out. Let me show you some other ones. 1922, the Cable Act. To show you how much they hate Chinese people, how much they hate Asian people. It's a law that says if you are an American citizen and you marry a Chinese person, you lost your citizenship. What purpose would that serve? Tell me the national security interest that serves. Tell me a reason for that law other than objective racism. Other than I hate Chinese people. The idea of them breeding in my community is offensive. The idea that they will spread their disease everywhere is real. That's this. Did you know about this? I didn't know about this. Right? A lot of these laws kept on the books until 1965. Why did they spend all this time keeping these policies in place? Tell me a reason other than they hate Chinese people, they hate Asians. Okay? Let's zoom out a bit. At the same time the Chinese Exclusion Act was repealed on paper, the United States began the largest roundup of Asians in our history. Japanese Americans, 120,000 plus, were rounded up. And lots of Chinese people, I talked to Chinese people about this, I said, I don't care. This is fine, I don't care about this because I'm a citizen. They're not going to do anything to me. 1942. 120,000 plus Japanese Americans are rounded up. 2/3, over 66%, were American-born citizens. Do you think citizenship protects you? This is not that long ago. This is not that long ago. Why was this done? In whose name was this done? This was done under the name of national security. Every Japanese person in America, people who didn't even know that they were Japanese, were rounded up. People who did not speak a word of Japanese, knew nothing of their home, knew nothing of their culture, were rounded up. This is just a small list of some of the laws that were passed by the states at the same time as the laws passed by the national government. Look at the time frame. The first